Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program. You are watching the voice of conservative, libertarian principles and all-around anarchy here in the northwest suburbs. Andrew Richter, the television show. Thanks again for tuning in, and judging by my ratings, you're tuning in every Thursday night, 6 p.m., Channel 19, same time, same place, every single week. We bring you the stuff that the mainstream media doesn't. Now, as an author of 4 books myself, I'm always appreciative of somebody who has the time, discipline, smarts, all that stuff to write their own book. I think it's just it's a skill that I think is dwindling here. We don't seem to read as much as we used to, as much as I enjoyed. And I want to introduce a friend of mine who's written his own book, Matt Rothchild of Robbinsdale. Matt, thank you for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it as well.
Why don't you tell the audience what your book's called and give us a little brief rundown of what's all in it.
Okay, well, my novel is entitled I-29. It is, you could describe it as a cross between an adventure novel and maybe social science fiction. It deals with the transformation a young man undergoes, transformation from being a paragon for apathy and disengagement to becoming the antithesis of those things. He becomes very much involved with the world around him, cares very much about what happens because of various discoveries he makes just in the living of his own life.
Cool. Now, I-29, I mean, how did that title, where'd you get that from?
Oh, terrific story behind that.
Oh, well, let's hear it.
Yeah, I was driving back home to the Twin Cities. I had gone home to North Dakota for a week over Christmas, as is my usual practice. And I'd been kicking around writing a novel for a while by that time. I thought it would be a lot of fun to do. It would be really interesting to do. And I'm driving down Interstate 29 in North Dakota, somewhere between Grand Forks and Fargo, and suddenly it hit me. I know! I should write a story where all the events happen within a few miles of this stretch of road, and I can call it I-29. And that's kind of where the idea came from, and I just sort of went from there.
Huh, cool. All right, now the main character, now we're going to talk a little bit about the book without giving too much of it away, so pardon us here if we tease you a little bit. But the main character, a guy named Stephen Christensen, is the main character. Now, what's the inspiration behind him? I mean, do you have a story with who he is? Does it mirror anyone, or?
It mirrors a few things, a few different people in a few different ways, one of which I probably shouldn't discuss with you because it would give away the ending, so we'll just leave that out. But
it's not me, in case you're wondering.
No, Stephen Christensen as a character, though, he's supposed to be an allegory for American society at large. In my dealings with other people, particularly in my political involvement, the one theme that I seem to notice more than any other, no matter what kind of political background someone says they are, self-identifies with, the one thing they all have in common is they just want to be left the hell alone to live their own lives in peace and quiet without being disturbed, that sort of thing. And I thought to myself, what a terrific character that would be for a novel. And so I formulated this character, and he thought for quite a while that he was being left alone, that he had control over his own life. But events happened that opened his eyes and made him realize that anything but was going on.
The people who just try to fly by life and then wake up one day and realize that they have to get involved and they have to pay attention to stuff. I agree with you on that. I mean, I see that a lot too. I see a lot of people who this country, in my opinion, was founded on individualism and people making their own destiny. We really don't have that anymore, do we?
No, we don't. And that was another theme that I wanted to address in the book, actually, is this idea that increasingly in our society, people are being pigeonholed, often permanently, into what is seen as their proper station in life, and so forth. The example that comes readily to my mind, it's one that I've gone over with other friends of mine before. When somebody gets released from prison, you always hear about how, oh, they have such a difficult time finding a job and everything. And my friends and I would always say, you know, you could have been some young, dumb kid who did something stupid one day and then went and paid the price, did a couple years in the joint, and then you get out and you are branded for life. Yeah. Everyone thinks, oh, he went to jail for a couple years. He's a felon. I don't want anything to do with him, whether he's really a hardcore type criminal or not.
Yeah, you know, you talk about people being pigeon-held. I mean, I see that all over in society, people getting put into groups, and the assumption is made about, we got cradle-to-grave stuff here in the United States now. What other themes, what other big themes do you want people to take from
Okay, well, connected to what we just discussed, the one thing I wanted to come out in my book was that people can change, things can change, as we see with the transformation that our principal protagonist undergoes. I mean, he too was kind of stuck in his place in life, but he changed for the better. Another theme that I wanted to address, also related to the protagonist, is that you can't expect to be left alone if you don't expose yourself to the very things you wish to avoid. That was another theme I wanted to cover in the book, because a debate that I've heard people have too is one that deals with, well, how do I do things in such a way so that I can be left alone? Some people I know have said, I'm going to go be a hermit. I'm going to go live in a cabin out in the woods. But that really doesn't help anything, because now you're completely separated from all people, and I don't think that that's necessarily a healthy thing to have happen either. Other people, people like me, will argue, well, no, to be left alone, you have to go out and actually stop the things that are interfering with you, and to stop things, you have to get out there and actually work the problem, get involved with things, talk to people. And you can't just say, I'm going to shut off from the whole rest of the world and hope that it all goes away.
You stop things from happening. Let's get into that a minute. What kind of, we'll get into some of the issues in a minute that you kind of bring up, and we'll get to that. What are the kinds of things that need stopping right now in your mind?
Well, I would say the wholesale violation of people's negative rights. Negative rights being those rights that you maintain against others not to interfere with you. Yeah, this is another theme that I cover in the book.
That's all right. You can go ahead and expand on it. Feel free.
Okay, well, one of the things that I've also seen out in society is people are almost expected to sacrifice so many of their negative rights, all in the name of some vague, nebulous greater good. But the problem with using that kind of rhetoric to get people to sacrifice their rights is, who gets to decide what the greater good even is? Is it the individuals you are asking to sacrifice their rights who get to decide? Well, no, it's usually some all-powerful character sitting up in some big granite building someplace, being Mr. High and Mighty Overlord.
Yeah, you hear sacrifice, shared sacrifice. How many times do you turn on the news and hear that? And shared sacrifice for what? You know, who's cutting the pie?
Well, shared sacrifice for whatever somebody else decides it's going to be, whether you like it or not.